The hallways of the grand mansion were silent except for the faint ticking of a clock, the kind of silence that carried weight, the kind that told a story of absence, of someone missing who should have been there. And then it broke suddenly, sharply out with a tiny, trembling cry that pierced through the stillness like glass shattering on marble. "Dad, you broken bar, my hand hurts so much." The voice was small, fragile, trembling under the weight of pain that a child should never know. The cry echoed through the wide living room where the maids froze in their duties, their eyes darting toward the staircase. Upstairs, in one of the many golden-trimmed bedrooms, a little girl of barely 6 years old clutched her small hand to her chest, tears streaking her face. Her name was Lily, and though her father was a man the world called powerful, wealthy, and untouchable, in this moment all that mattered was that she was just a little girl alone in her room, begging for someone to ease her pain. She whispered again, weaker now, "Daddy, please see broken bar, my hand hurts." A broken bar, as if saying it might summon him faster. And just as the sound of her plea floated down the hallway, heavy footsteps stormed in from the far end of the mansion. A door burst open. The air itself seemed to hold its breath, and then like a storm unleashed at her father, Alexander Reed, the millionaire entrepreneur whose name alone could move stock markets, rushed in, his voice breaking the silence with the roar of desperate authority. "What happened to my daughter?" "Who touched her hand?" His shout carried not only anger but a raw fear that only a father could know. The staff scattered, some trembling at the fury in his voice, but Alexander's eyes saw only one thing: his little girl clutching her small fingers, her face twisted in pain. And in that instant, every deal he had ever signed, every company he had ever built, every cent of his fortune meant nothing compared to that tiny cry. "My hand hurts so much." A broken bar. Alexander's face was a storm of emotions, his normally sharp and composed features crumbling as he dropped to his knees beside the bed where Lily sat, trembling and clutching her little hand as though it were her entire world. His expensive suit, tailored to perfection for boardrooms and investors, crumpled against the floor, but he didn't care. He would have ruined 1,000 suits if it meant easing the pain in her eyes. "Lily, sweetheart, show me," he whispered, his voice breaking under the weight of fear that no fortune could shield him from. Slowly, hesitantly, the little girl opened her palm, revealing redness and swelling around her tiny fingers. Alexander's heart clenched as though someone had wrapped a fist around it. For a man who had faced hostile takeovers, ruthless rivals, and storms of media scandals, nothing in his life had prepared him for the sight of his daughter's suffering. He gently took her hand into his touch softer than silk, though his chest thundered with rage and panic. "Who let this happen?" he barked suddenly, turning toward the doorway where servants stood nervously. His voice was like thunder rolling through the mansion, making them flinch. "How could anyone let her get hurt in this house?" But Lily tugged gently on his sleeve, whispering with tears in her eyes, "Dad, you broken bar, don't shout. It hurts more when you shout." His anger melted instantly, his shoulders sagging under the truth of her words. He pulled her into his arms, rocking her like she was still the baby he had once held in hospital blankets, the only thing in the world that could make him drop the mask of power he wore for the world. "I'm sorry, my little angel," he whispered against her hair, his voice cracking. "Daddy's not shouting at you, I promise. I just can't stand to see you hurt." As he held her, his mind spun back to a memory he had buried deep. Years ago, when his wife Lily's mother was alive, he had promised her one thing: to protect their daughter with everything he had, to never let her cry for help without being there. But fate had been cruel. His wife had passed away during Lily's birth, leaving him to navigate fatherhood alone, with nothing but his guilt and his wealth. People whispered that money could buy happiness, but Alexander knew the truth. It couldn't bring back the woman he loved, it couldn't erase the nights when Lily cried for her mother, and it couldn't heal the wound of seeing his child in pain. He kissed the top of Lily's head, holding her tighter. "I'll fix this," he vowed, both to her and to the ghost of the promise he had once made. "Daddy's here now. Nobody will ever hurt you again." But inside, he wondered if he had already failed her, if his endless meetings and his constant pursuit of power had made him blind to the simple truth that all Lily wanted was him, not his millions, not his empire, just her father by her side. The swelling in her hand worsened, and Alexander's heart raced. "Get the doctor, now." he shouted to the staff, his tone leaving no room for hesitation. Within minutes, the family physician arrived, carrying his kit with urgency. He examined Lily's hand carefully while Alexander hovered like a hawk, his fists clenching each time the doctor pressed on her skin, and she winced in pain. "It looks like she may have sprained it," the doctor explained softly. "Did she fall?" But Lily shook her head through tears. "No, a broken bar. The other kids at school, a broken bar. They pulled it." Her voice broke, and Alexander froze as if the world itself had stopped turning. A silence heavier than lead filled the room. His jaw tightened, his eyes darkened with fury. "Who?" His voice was low now, dangerous, the kind of voice